transport routes from north to south. Haarlem was a real fortified town, and its ramparts were 23 feet high. Originally, Haarlem had a number of town gates. One town gate has been preserved, the Amsterdamse Poort. Roof, straight ahead, is the former Dome Prison of Haarlem. It was used as a prison until 2015. The Netherlands has 3 dome prisons. The others are located in Breda and Arnhem. The idea behind this shape of prison was that it was easier to keep an eye on the prisoners. The prison officers sat in the middle of the dome, and the prisoners were placed in cells against the outside wall. One of the largest courtyards in Haarlem. These consist of various rooms specially meant for elderly ladies, located around a garden. In the past, the women, mainly widows, who lived here were provided with all they needed. Rent, food, and pocket money were selflessly made available by rich burghers, who in this way showed their compassion for those less fortunate. There's a tower of 1580, belonging to the Barkenesse Church. The tower is made of white sandstone. As you can see, the tower of the Barkenesse Church and the tower of the Great St. Bavo Church are identical. Here, barges and cargo vessels used to patrol. Next to the shipyard, you can see the De Adriaan windmill. In 1930, the mill was damaged by a heavy storm. On the 23rd of April 1932, it went up in flames. Thousands of inhabitants of Haarlem looked on, powerless. It took days to put out the fire. In 1991, the De Adriaan Mill Foundation was established, and it has ensured that the mill was rebuilt. In 2001, the De Adriaan was reopened as an event venue. New Canal, dug in the 17th century and inspired by Amsterdam's canals. The wealthy inhabitants of the town built their luxurious canal houses here. The large building to the left is the Haarlem Police Headquarters, located on Koudenborn. The building dates from 1768 and was formerly used as a shelter for orphans who were too old for the orphanage. The oldest canal of Haarlem, dating from the 13th century, which connects the Nieuwegracht with the Spaarne. This part of town is the oldest part of Haarlem, and certainly worth a visit. You will see the house of Barnard, a courtier of King Louis Napoleon, the first king of the Netherlands. He was also mayor of Haarlem.
The white one.
This house is one of the few with a double entrance, which was a symbol of wealth. The higher the stairs, the more taxes had to be paid. So double staircases meant double taxes. Only the very wealthy could afford an entrance like this. Passageways, made for sewerage. During the Second World War, these were sometimes also used as a means of escape. Under the bridge, you can see an entrance to one of these passageways. Park. The park was laid out in 1900 after the ramparts were dismantled and is named after Canal, the daughter of Simons von Hasselaar. She played an important role during the 80 Years' War, when Haarlem was besieged by the Spanish from 1572 to 1573. Named after the orphanage that was located here in the 17th century. The orphanage was part of the Maria Magdalena convent, dating from the 16th century. The convent was in use as a hospital. The remains were totally removed in 1937. The only thing still here is the access gate, which you can see to your left. On it, you can see a depiction of the coat of arms of Haarlem. Many of which were established at the water's edge. The beer usually had a low alcohol content. It was drunk instead of water, because drinking water would make people ill. The beer breweries at first used the water from the Spana and surrounding canals. But when the water became too polluted, the Brouwersvaart was dug to bring clean water from the dunes on special water boats. A good example of a workers' district built at the end of the 19th century. These were the first neighbourhoods built by housing corporations. To the left is the Old Town, settled in the 13th century, with the much-loved district of Vijfhoek. This is one of the best preserved parts of Haarlem. Canal between Haarlem and Leiden. This canal is 18.6 miles long and was dug in 1657. The work took 19 months. Goods were transported between the towns by barge. Along the bank was the towpath on which the horses walked, towing the barges. The Leidse is part of the Leiden-Haarlem-Amsterdam transport route. Was built after the Reformation in 1898 and was designed by Jos Kuipers, son of the famous architect Pierre Kuipers, who designed, among other things, Amsterdam's Central Station in the Rijksmuseum. In the centre of Haarlem, you will find the great St. Bavo Church, which used to be a Catholic church, but after the iconoclastic fury in 1566, the church became Protestant. After this, it was decided to build the second St. Bavo. Jos Kuipers was tasked with building a church with a somewhat international character. This was the reason he took his inspiration from churches in England, France, Switzerland and the Vatican. Building this church took 30 years. Due to lack of funds, the two towers at the front could only be finished after a collection had taken place. Because the women collected more money than the men, the bell tower is called the Women's Tower, the other tower the Men's Tower. Schouwburg Theatre, built in 1916 after an anonymous donation was received. This donation amounted to 250,000 guilders, which was an extraordinarily large amount at that time. 90 years after it was built, the theatre was enlarged by an extension at the rear. In front of us is the lowest bridge of this trip, and if the water level is too high, we can't even pass under it. During summer and autumn, this bridge houses thousands of spiders, so it is sometimes called the Spinnenbrug, or Spider's Bridge. An old defensive canal. To the left is the old centre of Haarlem. The word singel comes from the Dutch word omsingeld, or encircled. Together with the walls and ramparts, the singels had to defend Haarlem against the Spanish during the 80 Years' War. Nothing is left of the defensive walls. The only thing reminding us of this time is the Amsterdamse Poort. It offers many interesting facades and houses. On the right side of this street, you can see 12 proveniers houses, all with identical facades. Provenier is an old Dutch word and means someone living from kroon or donations, a type of retired person.
It's a famous painter, famous like Rembrandt.
We are now on the Gasthuisvest, or Hospital Canal, named after the Elizabeth Gasthuis, the building with the small tower on the roof covered in ivy. In the past, it was a specialist hospital for women, but it is now used as a cultural centre and music school. Concerts are regularly held here. Or almshouse courtyards that Haarlem at one time had. Some 20 are still in existence and can be found in the centre of Haarlem. They were built from the 12th to the 19th century. Originally there were 3 types of hofje: religious hofjes, foundation-run hofjes and guild-run hofjes. In the Netherlands to obtain a town charter. Haarlem received its town charter in 1245. Great or St. Bavo Church, built in the 15th century. The small bells in the tower are called damiaats. In olden times, these little bells were used to warn the town that the town gates were about to be shut. The damiaats rang from 9 to 9:30 p.m. This tradition is honoured even today. In the church, the Christiaan Müller organ, dating from 1735, can still be seen. Mozart played this organ in 1766, when he was 10 years old, and on a pilgrimage with his father. To the right of us, the famous Haarlemmer oil used to be sold. It was a cure for all ailments and diseases. Sailors liked it very much and took it along on their voyages. This made Haarlemmer oil world famous.